Hi, this is Paul from the Tech Model channel, and the first thing I'm going to do is a couple of call outs to some retired member of my from my training days of a training centre, and his name is Nigel Buck. Obviously he's retired. Enjoy your retirement, Nigel. So there you go with that. I thought they'd do that. He's got 2 more days left evidently because of circumstances. He would normally finish on Friday, but he's got, because of circumstances, he's got 2 extra days to do. They will go quickly, so, and after that he'll be on what I call a holiday, a permanent holiday. Anyway, so that was that one. Also at that retirement do, I actually bumped into Jamie Long. Well, hello there, Jamie, and his son. I didn't see his son, but he said his son enjoys modelling, and he actually subscribed to my channel along with that Jamie. And so that's to Mr. Blake, a young Mr. Blake. Evidently wants to be in the forces when he eventually gets through bits and pieces. So anyway, but so good luck, Jamie, with that, with your career in the forces, if that's the way you go, and enjoy your modelling if that's what you enjoy doing as well. But now tanks is your forte evidently. So I like tanks, but I also like doing the odd submarine and ship as well. So a bit of everything, and a bit of a few aircraft I've got to do some point in the future as well. But anyway, going back to this model then, so you two, that's a call out for Jamie Long and Mr. Blake, young Mr. Blake. And also Mr. Blake, if you're building anything, always take a long time. Yeah, anyway, there you go. That's a bad one, wasn't it? Anyway, back to this. As you can see, I've got further along with the vehicle. I will say that I've made a mistake, and it's always nice to tell people who make mistakes, and if you can find a way around it to get it fixed. And I'm not going to say it's going to work perfectly, but we're going to give it a go. The actual fault I've got is I actually forgot to fit a periscope to this front here. Now God knows how I managed to do that, but I've got everywhere else has got a periscope but not there. It's already on the sprue still, all painted up, ready to go. So what I've got to do to fix that, because this is all glued together now, the top and the bottom, I've got no way of getting to the underneath of that plate. Now the first mistake I made was gluing that plate on the first place, and I think I mentioned that in my last video. So if I hadn't have glued that in place, I could have sprayed and painted it all in situ and then glued it in at the last minute, I wouldn't have a problem with this, what I've got now. But anyway, but the problem's there, so I've got to sort it. So what I've got to do, is I've already marked a hole in underneath that's directly below this bit, and before I do any drilling underneath to make a circle so I can go up with a pair of pinchers with a periscope attached to it and glue it in position, what I've got to do is glue the actual torsion bars that run across the underneath inside the hole, because they've all got that plastic rod, if you remember, going across from one side to the other, coming in from both sides. So I've got to glue this one, that one and that one into position so they don't move. That doesn't matter because this is a static model. And then do the same on the other side with 2, I think it is, on the other side. So when I drill through, I won't affect them suspension arms, because obviously normally what would happen is that's the springiness that gives you the movement to these suspensions. It's a shame, but I do want that periscope there, and most people would say I will leave the periscope and say it's damaged, but I'm not going to. I want it there, so I'll be doing that. So I've got on the next update, you'll hopefully see it in position, and you'll know that my task was successful. Now, painting, I used MRP paints, and I think I mentioned that before. Apart from the Tamiya primer, superfine primer for the base coat priming. Really like the paints because they are fine pigments, and they sprayed quite nicely as well. So here we go, and I'm not finished with layer, and you know that because I've told you that before. And I've got a bit of life colour I like using as well, so we'll be eventually using that again. But anyway, so what I did is painted I've done the base colour, and I think you saw that with the pre-shading, and now I've gone in with the camouflage. And I've actually changed the vehicle really, because I looked at what I had there, and I thought myself the one I wanted to build actually had the earlier barrel, so I'm stuck with this one. So I've gone to the late version. I might have already said that in the last video, but I've gone to 654 on the western front. So 654 on the western front. So it's a slightly different vehicle. So the camouflage mirrors as near as I could get it to the actual vehicle that's on the decal sheet, on the actual instruction sheet. Again, the wheels weren't camouflage, so that's not an issue. They're still in the modelling booth, all sprayed up, ready to go. And I need to semi-gloss them so that the vehicle's all in the same state when I put the wheels on later for a bit of weathering. But I want to weather underneath here a little bit first before I do anything else. So the thing I did is the decals, and what I used is a satin varnish, which you can see is quite shiny on this vehicle. I think that gives you a good idea. It's quite shiny on this vehicle, and it's a satin varnish from MRP. And So I done a couple of coats of that all the way round, and I never like it when it's looking like that because it just looks too shiny. But the point is, you know that once you've done all your weathering, it's going to bring it all back down in tone. I'm calling it the switcher touch. That's what I'm going to call it, the switcher touch. Using the oils and blending it all back in. I know he would say he never invented it, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm calling it the switcher touch. So anyway, so what I did with the decals, and I'll call the Flurry touch because I'm a member of the old Flurry site as well as the International Scale Modeler, but and I watched all their videos, and basically this. I don't contribute a lot to both those sites, and I will eventually at one point. And of course, and the actual bucket, photo buckets cause problems now, don't they? Because they said you can't do any third-party listings. So every photograph you ever put on any site disappears and goes to a funny clock thing, you know, JPEG thing. So that's really annoying. So thankfully, I wouldn't have lost too many photographs in that way. But right, anyway, back to this then. So the Flurry effect for the decals. What did I do? All I did is, and this isn't his, even he said it's not his idea, but he pinched it and it works really well. What I do is, that's my little tray. I only use a small tray with water in for doing decals because most 35th scale model tanks have got small decals and they fit lovely into there. And you're only doing them one at a time, sometimes 3 in there, floating around ready to go. Especially if you're going to put them in close succession, one after the other, which I did with the numbers. And what I done really is basically got me water in there, a bit of warm water from the tap downstairs, and then I put a couple of drops of microsol into it. It has to be the sol. And what that does, it gives you a diluted formula of the solution in hot water. And when you put the decal in it, you're doing things twofold. The water obviously being warm softens the decal and takes it away from the carrier a little quicker, but it also starts the softening process up on the decal. So when you actually eventually get it from there to your model, you actually got it in the process of starting work. But the first thing you do before you do that is put a thin layer of microsol on a fine brush. And I use a different brush for each one. I don't use the same one. Some people I've seen dip into each one. I prefer to keep them separate and do the brush. So what I do then is brush the area I want to put the decals on with this microsol and brush it on, and then I place my decal there. I use a pair of tweezers to hold the decal carrier, and then I slide it off with the brush that I used for the microsol. And then I start to put it down a little bit, try and get it into position. Once it's in position, then I get a paper towel and I just touch it. I don't compress it or anything. I just touch it to get some of the excess off. So basically you've got no movement as such there, especially, but you still can move it slightly to get in if it's moved a fraction. Once I'm happy with that, I put a brush stroke again of microsol over the top of the decal. I do that normally twice, but it all depends on how thick the decal is as well. I normally do it twice. For this one I only done it twice, and then basically then afterwards I got my cotton bud and I started above it and no pressure, just using it firmly, lightly against the vehicle, and rolled down and then rolled up. And basically what that does, and then slightly take a bit of pressure, but not much. You need very little pressure on that. And then what happens is it starts to push and conform to the actual shape. And this vehicle's got ZIMMERIT, as you can know, so it really needs to conform really nicely and not give you any silvering. And I never got any silvering. Any silver shine you can see is purely the varnish, because when I turn all the lights off it doesn't do it. So that's how I did it, and I did it for each one. And it's unusual, the decals for this. This looks more like an aeroplane decal, but evidently they've got evidence, must have evidence it was just a clear white Belgian cribs. So I went with it. And there's also 2 done on the back, and I'm just going to do this slightly. There they are, and they sealed in. I can see the pattern all the way into that, and they can see a pattern into the white paint and all, as if they've actually put a template over there and sprayed it straight on. So there you go. So that was that really, and so my next job now is to and when I finished the decals I let them dry for about an hour, and then I went back into the spray booth and then sprayed lightly over all the areas where the decals were with the same varnish that I've got on the base below. So now they're all sealed into position, and then really you need them to be sealed in position for all the progress and work that's going to carry on from this point, because obviously I'm going to start using oils and turpentine, and the last thing you want is to do that and it sneaks through to the base colour below and starts peeling, damaging the decals. So that's what my next project is after that. But as you know, I've got to do the actual get the other periscope fitted. Very frustrating, that bit. I was really kicking anyway, because I went to kick the wife, but she kept moving. No, I'm joking about that. But anyway, so that was that. So that's how far I am now. I am pleased with the model. It's coming really looking nice at the moment. But as I say, we're never happy with anything. You can see that basically the road, where the road wheels go, you can see more of a plastic or primer colour, because I didn't worry about spraying that too much, because I want the actual wheels to get permanently fixed in place on that location. So next thing I have been doing, and a bit slow on this because I've had a bit of a busy week. So I've been building tracks up 10 at a time. Another one of those switches ideas, but I know he got it from somewhere else, but I call it a switcher. So basically do 10 at a time until you get the right amount. And what I've done on my mat is I've used the actual tracks from the Panther, Panther, these ones, laid them out on my mat and put a bit of onto it, so that it goes from there to there. And basically by laying it onto the mat with a ruler, and then I've got a bit this end, I'm using the measurement, and it goes up to 14 3/4 inch each along. So now when I've marked it, so when I'm building these track lengths, when I get to that point I stop, and then I can test fit, and if I'm happy with the test fit, then I just put it on the vehicle later on when it's completely finished painting. So that's the way I'm going to do these tracks. So I know I'm not worried about counting them, because I could sit here and count every little bit of track length, but I found it was easier to actually lay them down and get them, lay these down and mark them out on the mat, because you can actually remove the pencils. I won't put any glue on the last couple of runs just to make sure that they fit perfectly. And once they're okay, they're done. So I'm building tracks at the moment as well. So that's it really for this quick update, and hopefully you've enjoyed it, and seen that when you make mistakes, you just got to try and find a way of correcting it. I really didn't want to drill through the bottom of that tank, as you can guess, but the point is, my mistake the very first mistake I made was gluing that plate in place, and if that was still loose, guess what, no issue, I'd have glued that back in. I'd have most probably told you about the mistake of not putting the periscope in, but we knew it would be an easy correction. Now it's going to be a harder one, but there you go, that's part of modelling. And after I got over the fact that I'd done it, you just got to get on with it. And anyway, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on my next update. Bye.